Grafting Street, Part 2 of a short story by Jared I. McGee. The walk to Grafting Street is rather bleak, but then again, anything down in the lower 16R. 16 districts, that is, though district is a kind term for what, precisely, we've got going on down this way. Go down that way as the sun is going low behind the hill, and I submit that no matter how brave a man or woman or, well, whatever you are, you'll get a bit of a fearful air about you. As I made my way down the narrow streets, I went through the districts, all of them, in the sing-songy way the back-end younglings do to remember all those forgotten spaces and peoples. In Biter's Bend, you'll make no friends. In Cornfile, they'll catch the little ones and make 'em stay a while. In Coal Hill, the black rocks and black lungs head to the mill. In Fishwan Way, fishmongers' catches make whore's day. To Shine Row, mothers' babies go to work and die and earn their dough. In Cotton Farthing, thread from plant and blood is their darling. In Thaumaturgy Boulevard, they bargain hard, but can remake you as if you were a godling. In Foothill, they think they're rich ones still. In Creation Stowe, the girls are quite friendly, their prices low. In Brown Leaf, deadly smokes to be had rather cheap. In Trivigante Crescent, heaven, earth, and hell come together quite unpleasant. In Otland, gouse meat passes as venison to all the 16's band. In Powder Corner, they make fire and love young firm men more the latter than the former. At least that's the way it's usually planned. In Needle's Point is a place where a gent can dole life's pain for some coin. In Tribesh Tuff, the girls are abundant, but want no man's stuff. In Flagrante on Mushi, fires of all sorts burn aplenty. In Grafting Street, you get new feet, but beware they don't take your liver. So those, my children, are all the 16. If you ever find yourself there, pray to your gods and move your feet, so you don't wind up a corpse in the river. I didn't just repeat the litany once. I made it through the rhyming teaching tour at least 3 times before I saw the intersection of Swinesong Avenue, a small subsidiary of Creation Stowe, and Grafting Street. Chalk it up to the nerves you might. Goddess knows I was getting more and more antsy as I made my way ever closer to the den of cheap-rate thaumaturgy that was my final stop of the evening. As I revisited my happier childhood by way of the rather pessimistic rhyme, I thought of Mum at home, so very scared for me to be trying to take on this new endeavour all alone. She'd wanted to come down with me, but walking the streets past sundown is not smart for anyone, much less an aging woman with too much trust in her art and naivete in her eyes. That's okay. She'll be fussing about so much in our little oval that she'll undoubtedly go to the old cinder jar and find all that money I'd left behind for us to better our lives with post-procedure. God, I began to realize just how uneven and unkempt these old decaying streets were. The cobblestone that had gone up top of what used to be more familiar, far smoother grey stone was uneven and choppy. Dips, holes. For a hobbled shine boy like me, it was hard going. Grafter Street, in particular, was quite the challenge. Even the men sent down from the hill, and other places don't like going down there. So the streets suffer. And, naturally, what few brave residents remain in the district, along with the chock-a-block practitioners, suffer. Maybe even worse than those terrible roads. I was in luck, though. My man's sign was distinct, and that distinct sign stared at me from on high after only a couple 100 yards into the quarter. It was an odd affair. A massive refusing eye with a sizable roseate pupil. Within the imposing pupil, a buxom woman cut from what seemed to be brownish marble, sat cross-legged and bare-chested. Sumptuous breasts juxtaposed by a horned goat's head on her neck and large eagle's wings on her back. She looked to be waving hello at passers-by, but that could easily be a darker hand of farewell as people searching for a better life enter into their doom. You know, I hate to admit it, but I took an extra minute or two just to look at the crazy beast's womanly features. I normally try to stay away from all that pay-for-play mess down in the districts, and my oh my, was there ever a lot to be had, but right about now I was regretting my decision not to make a quick pit stop off by Crescent, or Trivigante, or Tribus, or even Old Mushy. Could have been my last opportunity to indulge in the more powerful sex, as I call them. Those thoughts and the deep mahogany of the beast woman's breasts sent my mind back off to the countryside, and the pond and Anayanza. Her impossibly toned and perfect, though mottled body coming out of the water. Her browner than I'd ever seen in my sexual adventures nipples showing rather prominently through her besotted shirt. Her Delphinidines grafts patchworked in with her skin, slightly lighter, kind of grey, but no less beautiful and providing her with a strength and vitality most could only ever dream of down this side. My thoughts continued to wander down from those wonderful breasts, thinking of what we two might be able to accomplish together, stripped down with all this but superhuman advancement sewn into our bodies. I began to recall more than just her nipples, trying to will back the precise body I'd seen through that translucent fabric. About that time, I heard a noise. You know, you can, may, and should enter into Ymir Zuto's haven before the sun sets. That is, if you already have an appointment you plan on making, before his doors are barred to riffraff and refuse of the streets. I realized my eyes had been closed, admonished myself for being caught so off guard, so close to sunset. That's a damn good way of getting killed after all. Willed Anayanza's sculpted form from my mind, and I opened my eyes again. There, before the russet and umber so similar to the girl I want to fuck, and licking flames of the L that grafted abominations are said to endure in eternity, and pink sunsets of days I hope to spend in great health. Below that imposing sign was a man in deep green robes. So deep and so dark were those greens, they were far blacker than true green, Stygian even. His tall hat cast shadows over his eyes and his visage, but somehow I knew he was smiling down at me. "Well, boy?" "Yes, sir. I'm coming in now," I stammered. "Wonderful. No good comes after the rays of the setting sun. Cease to kiss Grafting Street." And with that, he stepped into the door, gesturing me in. I entered slowly, noting that the last rays of that peacekeeper we call the sun were, in fact, all gone now. I whispered to myself, "No good comes after they're gone, eh? Well, I sure hope that's just some canned saying they say to tourists." I stepped into darkness and cold, and the door creaked shut behind me. Thank you for listening to part 2 of Grafting Street, a short story by me, Jared I. McGee. I am honored to have used a great many artists' sounds and backing tracks to add to this story. Most of the sounds were taken from freesound.org and its users. The intro piano is by Porphyr, the footsteps are by Sabatyphanoi, the ominous bass by ERH, the horror track sounds by Zanko123, and the hellish bells by Marty Sonic. Sabatyphanoi's track is being used under a Creative Commons CC 01.0 Universal Public Domain Dedication license. Porphyr and ERH's tracks are being used under Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 unported licenses. Zanko123 and Marty Sonic's tracks are being used under Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial 3.0 unported licenses. The larger ambient soundtrack piece was taken from the Free Music Archive and is titled It Feels Good to Feel Good Again, an original piece off the album Ad Astra Volume 2 by PC3. It is being used under Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 International License. Thank you to PC3 and all of these amazing artists for giving the world such unfettered access to their creations. As this was a lot of soundtrack information, I encourage everyone to check the links out on the podcast's webpage at prospodcast.com to get even more information on all these wonderful creators. Additionally, if you enjoy these stories and the sounds behind them, consider giving to freesound.org or to the Free Music Archive and making a contribution. Moreover, go check out all these artists' pages on those web pages. These websites and these artists drive a great many creative projects. Well, that's it for episode 18 of Prose. As always, please keep your eyes peeled for more fun-filled episodes. And now, continuations of ongoing stories from Prose, with your host, me, Jared I. McGee. Thank you for joining me. See you next week.